Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. Education is universally acknowledged as a fundamental pillar for national development and social progress. However, in Nigeria, the educational sector continues to grapple with a myriad of challenges. Chief among them will be inadequate funding. Despite the critical role education plays in shaping the future of individuals and nation at large, budgetary allocations to the sector have consistently fallen below UNESCO recommended benchmark of 15 to 20% of national budgets. Now, this chronic underfunding has had far-reaching consequences on the quality of education at all levels, from dilapidated infrastructure and insufficient teaching materials to poorly motivated and underpaid staff. The symptoms of poor funding are widespread and deeply entrenched. As a result, students are often subjected to overcrowded classrooms, outdated curricula, and limited access to modern learning tools, all of which hinders academic performance and overall educational outcomes. Furthermore, the disparity in resource allocation between urban and rural schools exacerbates inequality and limits opportunities for marginalized communities. It's a wonderful episode on your favorite primetime show, Ways. My name is Osaya Mesali, and today our discussion, we will examine the impact of poor funding on the quality of education in Nigeria. Please, let's remember that Ways is all about you. You are the why in Ways, so be a part of the conversation every single day by adding your voice. Head on to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and drop a comment while the show is on so we can also feel your impact on the conversation. So when I open the phone lines, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic as well. As always, let me allow you ponder on my quote for the day. It says, everybody is guilty until everybody sees education as his or her own responsibility. To revamp education in this country will be a very tough task. This was from the former chairman of ASU, University of Port Harcourt branch, Dr. Austin Sado. All right, so we'll delve into all of this much later, but first, let me run off on a break. When I come back from that break, I'll let you in on my news interest for the day. Stay with me. All right, thanks for staying tuned. You're still watching Ways. So I'm going to start with the Super Falcons. Super Falcons captain and forward Rasheedat Ajibade has expressed frustration over the delay in the payment of the promised allowances and bonuses to the team. She made this known during an appearance on the forthcoming episode of With Chude. It's hosted by popular on-air personality Chude Jidanwo. Ajibade said that the players had yet to receive the pledged 100,000 $100,000 and other entitlements despite repeated assurances from the relevant authorities. Ajibade also added that the players had been informed that the money had already been allocated but insisted nothing had reached them. So the 24-year-old urged the authorities to fulfill their promises, stressing that the delay was taking a toll on the players. And of course, following the Super Falcons' historic 10th Women's African Cup of Nations triumph in Morocco, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as we know, had in July announced a cash reward of $100,000 for each of the players, along with other bonuses as a token of appreciation of their achievements. Ajibade also stated that she played for FC Robo Queens in Nigeria's Women's Football League for 10 years without receiving a salary. Okay. I love this conversation. I think we should even bring a guest to have this conversation because, you see, even when these promises were made, the announcement, $100,000 and all of that, a lot of people kept on saying this is audio promise, right? You would think that the government, given the fact that there is always an antecedent, right? There's, historically it's been proven that most times when those promises are made, it takes years before it's fulfilled. You would think that this government, would be any different and just kind of do the right thing. But hey, I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody would be surprised that understands how Nigeria works. I mean, it's very easy for you to just, say whatever it is that you want to say. What's it called? What's the word I'm looking for now? You can declare it, but it is the actual delivery that is always the problem. Action is never backed. Words are never backed by action, or they are rarely backed by action. Let me not say never. They are rarely backed by action. So we'll keep on putting an eye on this. I don't think it's a surprise to most Nigerians, but hey, it is what it is. I just don't buy the idea of riling up emotions and making people feel excited and all of that, then all of a sudden, everything goes quiet. Can we just change things for a start, Abi? For a change. Let's change things for a change. All right, so I'll move on to my next story. So the federal government had imposed, they've imposed a 7-year moratorium on establishment of new federal universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, citing the proliferation of underutilized institutions, overstretched resources, and a drop in academic quality. So briefing State House correspondent after the meeting, Alausa, he said that the challenge in Nigeria's tertiary educational system was no longer access, but inefficiency, poor infrastructure, inadequate staffing, and dwindling enrollment in many existing institutions. The minister noted that 199 universities received fewer than 100 applications through the Joint Administrations and Matriculations Board last year, and with 37 recording 0 applications of the 295 polytechnics nationwide. He said that many had fewer than 99 applicants, while 219 colleges of education also posted poor enrollment figures, including 64 with no applications at all. Alausa warned that unchecked proliferation of poorly subscribed institutions risk producing ill-prepared graduates, eroding the value of Nigerian degree internationally, and worsening unemployment. He explained that the moratorium would enable the government to channel resources into upgrading facilities, hiring quality staff, and expanding the carrying capacity of existing institutions. I would love to talk about this, but I'll save it for when my guest comes in to join the conversation, because I think this is important conversation to be had. I'll just move on to my next story, and I think it's the final story for the evening. A member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mr. Stephen Ogundipe, says that the new tenancy bill of the House aims to protect tenants against exploitation by estate agents, Ogundipe said the bill contains provisions designed to reduce burden on accommodation seekers in the state. He added that the bill was a direct response to public complaint regarding high fees charged by agents. Now, according to him, a salient provision of the bill is the reduction of agency fees on annual rents from 10% to 5%. Ogundipe expressed optimism that the bill would foster harmony in landlord-tenant relationship and stimulate real estate investment in the state. Now, according to him, the bill will not only restore the confidence of real estate investors, but also open opportunities for new financiers to enter the market. He also emphasized the need to review the existing legal requirement for landlords to ensure their premises against loss or damage. The lawmaker also said that the proposed law gives landlords the right to inspect and maintain their property upon giving prior notice to tenants. I think this is a fantastic bill. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it because I think at some point a lot of agents, they were moving mad, literally moving mad, because it's almost like I saw something very insane. Somebody is about to rent a property for a year. You're asking for 3 years, agency fee. How does that make sense, right? And now, for someone that probably got a property for like 700,000, the person is having to pay almost 1.5 million, right? Just because of the extra charges, legal, agency, and all of those charges that they, caution and all of that they ask for. So I think this is a good bill. We're hoping that it will really help to curb the madness that is going on within the real estate sector in Nigeria, especially inside this Lekki, especially. All right, so let's go on a break. When we come back from that break, let's discuss poor funding and how it's impacting the educational sector. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, schools at all levels, primary, secondary, and tertiary, face critical challenges as dilapidated infrastructure, shortage of qualified teachers, lack of teaching materials, inadequate research facilities, amongst other things. Now, these deficiencies not only hinder the learning process, but also contribute to low academic performance, increased dropout rate, and a decline in the global competitiveness of Nigerian graduates. Understanding the impact of poor funding is essential to addressing the root causes of the country's educational challenges and shaping effective policies for sustainable improvement. So joining us to have this conversation tonight is a researcher and human resource and change management personnel, Yomi Fawehimi, yes, or practitioner. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
All right, so let me quickly run us through a snapshot of Nigeria's education right now. This is just research that was gotten, online. So out of school children, according to UNESCO and UNICEF, as at June 2022, is 1 in 3, right? Attainment, that's at primary level, is 59%. For boys, 51% for girls. Secondary school level would be 42% for boys and 36% for girls. Literacy would be 62% in 2018 and 69% in 2022. They say that learning quality, students score about 309 over 625, just above minimum, while tertiary output, 200,000 graduates yearly, but skill gaps and underfunding hurt employability. Finally, they said crisis point would be about 670 plus institutions, yet overcrowding, outdated labs, poor training, and brain drain keeps happening. Funding, they said higher budget, it would improve, of course, pass rate, but efficiency only about 47 to 60%. All right, so let me stop there before we go on to the international aids and all of that. Why is funding critical to education? And how is this poor funding impacting the educational system as we have it today?
Okay, great question, and thanks for sharing those statistics. Funding is very critical because, stuff needs to be paid for, right? Infrastructure, educational resources, teachers have to be paid, facilities have to be maintained and managed, and of course, educational input needs to be resourced. So that's why funding is important. Funding is also important because education could be expensive. One fact people don't want to accept, particularly because of the nature of the way we have funded our educational system, is that education is expensive. Quality education costs a lot. I know what I would charge to teach in a university, and I know it's the kind of money I would charge to teach in a university will translate to whatever is being used to run that university. Now, at the same time, money finance is important because it seems as if the idea of garbage in, garbage out also happens in education. So if you don't pay your lecturers well, if there are no reagents in the lab, if there are no resources for them to work with, then they will not teach the students well, or the student will not get the best of experiences, and then the quality of students that you produce will not be as good as you want. So there's a cyclical effect that is there. But it's also important for us to separate the conversation. It's not just the quantum of money, but the efficiency of the use of money. Because there's always this argument every time the federal government or the state government come out with a budget, people say, oh, the government has increased the budget by 75% or by 25% or by 10%. It's not just the quantum. How efficient is this money used? So you send $10 to a university or to a college of education or to a polytechnic or to a primary school. How much of it is efficiently used, or a bulk of it goes into a lot of inefficiency? So you realize that you look at some of the best educational systems in the world. They're not the ones that spend the most per child. There's a ranking that is done by the OECD of the amount spent per primary school child in different countries. And what will shock you is that countries like the US spend a lot more per unit on a child in primary school, but it's not in the highest in terms of primary school education, because some schools, just some countries have cracked the idea that we don't need to increase the amount of money in education. We just need to ensure that we are more efficient with what we have. So currently in Nigeria, since we are sustaining the conversation in Nigeria, are we efficiently using the money that we have there? I'd also heard you talk about the United Nations, UNESCO standard and things like that. Nigerians have said many things about it, but most of them are not true. The impact is around public expenditure on education, not national budgets. So today, there's nobody that knows how much is spent by the public sector in education in Nigeria. The data does not exist anywhere. So by the public sector, I mean the federal government, the state government, and the local government, and all the parastatals associated with them. We do not know how much is spent in Nigeria by the public sector. So when people argue we are going below the UNESCO standard, I always say, you can't go beyond below a standard when you don't know the amount. We don't know how much we spent in education. The data does not exist. The Federal Ministry of Education does not have the data. So we don't even know whether we are spending too much or we are spending too little. We don't have that information.
Wow. You know what? It's interesting that you're talking about this because I saw a report. Was it, which day was it? Yeah, yesterday I saw a report where they said that a senior lecturer at the Michael Okpara University of Agriculture in Abia State, Dr. Phillips Nto, I think that's his name, he resigned his membership from ASU, right, from the Academic Staff Union of the university, citing lack of transparency and inclusiveness in administration of the union. You know, one of the biggest bodies, that tries to be like the watchdog for the educational system is ASU, and you keep on hearing issues around strike, and the strike is always back and forth about money, right? When I saw this, right, I just kind of like thought to myself, it is also possible, because what you've just said now, is shocking to me that there's no data available, because everything we're seeing international aid. So for instance, they said between September, I think around September 2024, as at last year, about $1.57 billion dollars, right? Each of them was marked as international aid that was given to the educational sector. Every time I keep hearing all of this, I keep on asking, please, where are they putting this money? Because if it is this educational sector that we are seeing, right, I am not seeing any, this international aid being well utilized. And that's why I loved what you said about efficiency, right? It's not even about pumping the money. Even the one that we have, the little that we have, how is it being spent? All of those questions, I'm telling you, is lost on a lot of people. So when I saw that resignation of ASU, in my head, honestly, the first thing that came to my head was that this guy, there must be money problem within that system. It means that even they themselves, there's no transparency. And transparency was one of the things that was cited for his resignation. So do you want to touch on that?
I mean, I'm not really surprised. If you remember that when Dr. Chris Ugige was the Minister for Labor and Employment, it was one of the reasons that he gave that he wanted to suspend the license of ASU, because he claimed that he had not, by law, all trade unions in Nigeria are supposed to set their audited account. And he claimed that ASU had not submitted their audited account for some couple of years, and he said he wanted to withdraw their license. So the question of inefficiency, transparency is not, it permeates various parts of Nigeria, whether you're talking about non-profits, you're talking about ASU, you're talking about union. People don't want to be transparent. Think about this. A couple of months back, the Minister of Education, I believe this is one of the best things he has done since he became minister, had to mandate all Nigerian federal universities to put on their website their audited accounts. I mean, the law establishing every university, UNILAG, whatever university says, it must publish its audited account, but they refuse to. There was a federal university in Nigeria wherein the vice chancellor said they did not have audited account because he said the auditor became blind. The information is available publicly. Said the auditor became blind, so that's why they did not have audited accounts. So you have that. The law says publish it, you refuse. And he had to take a minister coming to force you to pay it. There are also some schools that decide to create all manner of gimmicks to ensure that you don't even know how much money they have. The late governor of Oyo State, Governor Ajimobi, claimed that Ladoke Agricultural University had 66 bank accounts. 66 bank accounts, that's what he said. So when you have kept your money in 66 bank, how will we even know how much you are spending?
How do you track it?
Yes, part of what came out from the Lieutenant General Aguai committee set up to probe the issues that happened in UNILAG while the then Vice Chancellor, Professor Munibe, was suspended. Part of what they came out with was that they said they discovered that there were money collected in UNILAG as IGR that was not brought to the attention of the council. Now, I'm not saying this to indict anyone, because I'm just referencing established public reports by government on the way we have used money. It will shock you that what some universities use, and that's why we also need to talk about this question of efficiency. I used to work in a university in Nigeria where what the university gives the Department of Horticulture was more than what we got to run the department. Universities in Nigeria today spend I know a university that spends excess of 50 million naira on each convocation ceremony. Over 50 million. I teach in North America today. We do convocation 3 times a year. We don't spend anything close to that. So the point I'm trying to make is that this idea of, well, we need more money. Let's first talk about, interrogate, how well are we spending what we have? How efficient are we spending it? How transparent are we showing what we're spending on? And are we really spending on educational outcomes? So whether it's the university itself or the college or the primary school or ASU or any of the associated institutions there is a Nigerian Institute of Education Planning and Administration. It's part of the educational system. It's based in Ondo Town. There was a time for months, the CEO of that organization was living in a hotel. He was living in a hotel. At that same time, and this is another part of it that we need to talk about, that school was funding constituency projects in Surulere in Lagos. So an educational facility in Ondo Town that did not have money to accommodate his vice chancellor, his CEO, that the CEO had to be staying in a hotel, some person who was a speaker of the National Assembly forced the organization to be spending money to do road construction in Surulere local government. So when you now hear that this school has a budget of 2 trillion, what will shock you is that 1 trillion or 150,000 was used to tar roads in Surulere local government. The school is in Ondo and doesn't have accommodation for his vice chancellor, for his CEO. So it's part of those abnormality. There's a school in the southeast, Federal Cooperative College, OGI. That school is the kindest school in the world, because it builds roads, it builds palaces, it builds markets. People pad their budget of that school and they do all manner of things. So you will see that the budget of this school may be 200 million or 150 million, 300 million. But the amount that goes to that school, it's so small because they have used it to do constitutional prayer. University College Hospital trains medical students. A good part of their money is spent doing constituency projects. The school did not have electricity for a long period of time. So we don't really know. We don't really know how much you are saying, because when they say this is the budget of the University of Lagos, part of it are constituency projects that may include building a market in Sabogindaura or in
But wait, how does that even make sense? Like, make it make sense to me. A university, even if you want to even do projects as a university, the project should be project within your vicinity, and it should be project that impacts. Okay, let me give an example. My children went to Olashere, right? I know that at the time they get to year 10 or year 11 now, I can't remember now, year 10 or year 11, they always do a community impact project. And the community impact project is that the students will go to the community leaders and say, what do you want to do? You understand? So we've had to build fence for them. We've had to paint their community hall. We've had to fix, like little projects within the local community there. That's what we did. And it is going to be, the funds came from the parents. It was not from the school's pockets. It is, okay, this is the project we want to do. We'll go and raise the funds and we then use it to impact the community. And those are usually very, impact-driven projects. So how does it make sense that a university in Ondo State will be building road in Surulere? It doesn't make any sense. And this is where we now really need to look deep into the problems, because you see, every time we are so quick to throw money, to say money is the problem. And I love the angle you have taken it tonight. Even when this money comes or they have this funding, how well is it utilized? What is the structure of what the budget is itemized to go and fix within the university? It doesn't make any sense. The federal government released the report that I had read earlier about saying that some universities are going to be like shoved aside, and they would have like a moratorium period to open new universities, because right now they are having issues around very poor enrollment rates, very poor literally most of the universities are not viable. They're not so why do we have all of them multiplied in all over the places? These are the issues, and in that, Once the quality of the school is poor, or they don't even have good enrollment rates, it means that you will not have the best of teachers there or lecturers there. And all of a sudden, we're churning out graduates that are unemployable.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I personally do not think that, again, some of the problems we have in education, they are not accidents. So it's not as if we didn't know that's the result we are going to get. I always tell people that everybody always acts surprised, but I'm not surprised because what you sow in education, that is what you will reap. We seem to have sown the wrong decisions. We seem to have sown the wrong leadership. We had a case in Nigeria where we had a minister for education after 4 years apologized because of the poor quality of education, particularly with respect to out-of-school children. The next thing that we saw was that that minister was given another 4 years. And this man stayed in office for almost 8 years after he openly admitted, I did not meet my targets in 4 years. So there's a leadership challenge. There is a financial challenge, which I've tried to talk in various ways. There's also the question of lack of strategic thinking to change it. Education is a complex thing. I mean, I remember one of the former governors came up and said, he knows. I mean, okay, let me first say this. There's a McKinsey report that says for you to sustainably change the education system or the school system of a community sustainably, you need about 7 years. So this governor was saying that we know we need 7 years to reform education, but we know people will not wait for 7 years. So what do? We do something that they can praise us in 6 months. So for example, we build a new school block and we launch it. We announce that we are no more creating a university, and then we make noise about it. That we know it's not going to sustainably change anything, but we do it because that's what people want. So there's also the give and take around it. They'll say a governor is doing it. Say, what did he do? They say he has built 36 blocks of classroom. So what does that really mean? What does that is? Was a problem the fact that we did not have blocks of classroom? So you just referred to the announcement made after the Federal Executive Council meeting yesterday, where Dr. Lausa, the Minister for Education, said that they are giving a moratorium of 7 years in 30 new federal universities. And I was asking, so what's the announcement about? Your government, between 2023 and now, as I think based on my data, I am trying to confirm that there is no government that we have had since 1999 that has created so many federal universities in its first 2 years like this current government. Not only did we create new universities, we upgraded schools to become universities. Not only did we do that, we took over private institutions and made them federal universities. Not only did this government do that, they took over state institutions and made it federal. That happened in Taishola and College or University of Education that has become a federal institution. In Kaduna State, they took over the property return from EFCC that was owned by a private sector and made it into a university. Just a couple of weeks back, they turned Federal Polytechnic in Laro into a university. So you decided to create too many universities within your first 2 years that nobody has done it before. You will not believe it that just a couple of weeks back, this government was complaining that one of the universities it created, it did not have money for it in the 2025 budget. So I asked the question, I said, who are you complaining to? You know you did not have money in the budget. You are not complaining. There is Ogun State, Abeokuta is the capital of Ogun State. In Abeokuta, there's a university called Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. It's in Ogun State. It's been there for years. This government did not create a new university. The former government of late President Buhari created a University of Health Sciences, but did not resources. Maybe they realized they didn't have money. This government saw that this thing was created by President Buhari. Rather than say we don't have money, they decided to let them go and start and gave them a deadline that they must admit students this year. This came of government. Now, when the school was going to start, there was no money to start the school. This current Minister of Education, as the Minister of State for Health, came to Abeokuta to appeal to the governor of Ogun State that they should give them a building so that they can start. This current Minister for Education, as Minister of State for Health, said the total money they have to start this university cannot fence the land. And so the governor of Ogun State now donated a secondary school in Ogun State to become university. And these guys just changed the signboard of the secondary school and put university, and university has started. So you did that for 2 years. You now suddenly woke up and said you are putting moratorium. I mean, I like it because, when they say when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. But you are the one that dug the hole for yourself. You are the one creating university. And, I don't really believe they are going to stop it for 3 years because if you realize it, they have created universities for very strategic reasons. So the Ilaro Polytechnic, we know why that Ilaro Polytechnic was upgraded. You know who is the beneficiary of that. I don't need to mention the name. You know the universities that were created in the Southeast that was sponsored by bills by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly. You know the beneficiary of that. You know what happened in Southern Zaria that made them take over not private university and turn it into federal university. You know the reason. You know the beneficiary. So would it be that you have settled some set of beneficiaries for their political interests? You are now saying you are putting moratorium. Won't the others ask you that, are we not also supposed to benefit? And don't forget again, let's be very real in Nigeria. The laws that establish our universities are initiated from the National Assembly. They take it to the president to sign. You may say you will not sign, but you have to give them a reason why they will not sign. And don't forget, if a deputy speaker or whatever is in place and says, President, sign this bill establishing university. President says, I won't sign. That Senate, that House of Rep has the power of veto to say, we'll do it without you. So it really doesn't mean anything. But like I said, it's good that we agree that we have run too fast. But who was chasing us? I think, and that's part of why I said strategic planning is very important. I think this stopping should have happened 2 years ago, wherein the government should have said, we need to be creating universities every 6 months, or every 3 months, or every 7 months. As we currently speak, that is not, we don't have that long-term plan. Say, this is when we need a new university, and then we need that university in so place. I mean, we should have like a 50-year plan that determines when you will create a new university.
Yeah, so I think think it's a problem that is general, right, to Nigeria. Is unique to Nigeria. You know why I say this? Because even when you're complaining about issues on healthcare and all of that, how are you able to tell what hospitals needs to be built at what time? It's not because you have a clear sense of the number of people that are in need of medical attention in each region. It's the same thing. You don't even have your data sorted. You don't have statistics. How do you now expect to understand that, okay, in Abeokuta, for instance, there is a deficiency. We will need another school that can house at least 10,000 students that are unable to be admitted. We don't have all that data. But let's go on a break. When we come back from that break, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. So stay tuned. If you just tuned in, we're having an amazing conversation. Today's discussion, we're examining the impact of poor funding on the quality of education in Nigeria. Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also call our phone line 070-250-07749 or 070-142-42420. Remember, yes, to be a part of the conversation. I'd just like to say that on the funding, as it is right now, right, on the funding causes a lot of decayed infrastructure, shortage of learning materials, it's a myriad of problem. We're having low quality or low pay for teachers and low quality teachers as well, right? The quality of the teachers are not, at par with what we need. Overcrowded classrooms, widening rural and, of course, urban gap. Universities will continue to face things like strike, poor facilities, weak research support, and the long-term effect would continue to be that we would forever keep having unskilled workforce. We continue to have the high rate of unemployment. We'll continue to have slow development, and there will always be this rising social vices. Education is tied to a lot of things that we are facing as a challenge in today's Nigeria. So it is not it is only a serious government that would understand that we need to fix this problem to be able to move ourselves away from some of the other challenges that we're facing, because it's very central. It's very central in a lot of things for things to work. And I remember what our guest was talking about. How can you pick a secondary school and just change signposts, and all of a sudden it becomes a university? Have you visited universities abroad? So I went to North Carolina. I went to one of the universities there in North Carolina. I was blown away. Even me, Seth, I felt like going back to school, because I said, who would have this learning environment and not want to be in school, right? Even the current schools that we have as federal universities, right? They are all dilapidated. A lot of the structures are not conducive for learning. And a lot of those structures, they need to be expanded. The quality of I would rather have us have 36 federal universities. That's one in each of the states, and maybe plus the federal capital territory, let's say 37. But all of them are world-class standard that have massive, infrastructure that can cater to people, than having multiple universities all over the place that are not, they are not fit to be called universities, which is what we're seeing. Right? So how do we start to move forward? Because you see, if we keep on complaining, the complaints will never end. We will continue to have issues around this. How do we move forward? Because one of the problems that I think was pointed out was the fact that our budget, our annual budget for education, it makes no sense. You are even worsening the situation by saying that even the budget that they have allocated, we do not even see how it is spent. So that even worsens the situation. So how do we move forward?
Oh, okay. I think part of one of the ways, and I like your question. Part of the ways to move forward is for us not to make some assumptions. And when you were talking about all those problems, I was just saying, Madam, are you assuming those things happen accidentally? My belief is that they are deliberate. Somebody wants it to be that way, so that you can understand, and it will not seem as if I'm just saying what I like. So this country took a decision once and said, the cutoff mark to go to a college of education should be 100/400. We took it as a decision. So the person that will train our children to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, we said the person just needs to score 100/400, right? But that lawyer or that doctor or that engineer needs to score 180. We took the decision. They didn't force us. It wasn't a foreign government that forced us. So when we now said somebody who scored 100 should go to a college of education, that means amidst all the people that will get admission in a particular year, the poorest, based on JAM scores now, based on UTME scores, will go and become teachers. Then we will now complain that the quality of teachers is low. No. We chose the lowest quality of candidates to go to become teachers. So why are we surprised the quality of teaching is low? We fed in the weakest candidates in the UTME process into the College of Education system. They came out as not too skillful teachers, and we are shocked. Why should we be shocked? That's what we chose to do.
But has it not always been like that? Has it not always been like that? Because I know that the people that go into colleges of education, in fact, those are the ones that would have to match about 5 WAEC results to be able to, get.
No, I don't know how far back you are describing. I don't know how far back.
As far back as 1997, 98, the quality of the people that go into colleges of education, they've always been horrible.
In the life of a country, 1995 is very recent. 1995, 1996, I was a lecturer in the university then. So I have seen that has happened. But before then, it was the most brilliant of us that went to become teachers. If you think about it, Obafemi Awolowo was a teacher. If you think about it, Tafawa Balewa was a teacher. So you realize that it was the best of us. Check our history, 1955, 1956, 1961. Who were the executive of the political parties? In most parts of Nigeria, they were teachers because they were the ones seen as being most respectful. So we changed the model. Countries like Korea and Finland has kept the model. In Korea, for example, when they write what is the equivalent of the UTME to gain admission, the best students will go and become teachers. The rest will go and become doctors and engineers. So you cannot feed your weakest person to become a teacher and be surprised the teacher is weak. So that's why I say it's not accidental, is what we plan for. The other dimension of it is, so part of the problem is for us to start to create incentive for the public sector managers to prioritize private education. So please know what I said. The current politician has no incentive to prioritize a reform educational system. Remember, when people are well educated, they are difficult to control. So all this issue about vote buying, carrying ballot boxes and doing those things, the more educated people will be, the more difficult it will be to use their children. So there is an incentive for a corrupt politician to ensure that education does not get reformed. So I think part of what we need to do is to start to create incentives why they should focus on educational reform. So we must create an incentive system where we punish politicians who don't focus on education and we reward those that do well. Think about this. The commissioner, very brilliant contribution by the Commissioner for Education in Lagos State, who came out and said Lagos students were failing WAEC. But what happened? Did you hear the governor talk about it?
No.
Did the governor feel concerned? Did he have a sense? Did he even address it? No. This year, JAMB result that was first released before it was retaken was the worst result in about 5 years. WAEC result, before they adjusted it, was the worst result in 10 years. When it was released, did you hear the president of this country? Did you hear the Senate president? Did you hear the vice president? Did you hear the wife of the president, who is a teacher, finished from IDME College of Education, talk about it and say that this is an issue of national emergency? Germany went to do the PISA assessment. Everybody believes that Germany was efficient and whatever. So Germany decided to register its 13-year-old children to go and become and compare with other OECD countries, USA, Spain, the European countries and all of that. And Germany was one of the poor performing countries. It became an issue in the country that the National Assembly set up a panel to say, Germany is an efficient system. How do we perform poorly? That is the kind of system we have created. So part of it is this incentive. The politicians don't care. They don't care. And they know they don't care. And they know we don't care that they don't care. Last point for you to see where we need to create this incentive is something great happened this last couple of weeks. First was the fact that our women won the AFCON. Shout out to our ladies, the Super Falcons. They were given 10 million. All of those things were done, which is great. Not too long after, the Tigers, the female basketball team, also won the African chapter. Shout out to those ladies. They were given the same amount and stuff like that. 2 weeks after, a girl, 17, 18, I can't remember whatever age, won an award. All she got was a letter from the president saying, we congratulate her for winning. So think about it. You have a daughter. Your first daughter is Ashisha Toshola. Your second daughter is Ezine Kanu, who plays basketball. Your first daughter Ashisha plays soccer. Your third daughter is the one that is going to school. So your first daughter Ashisha Toshola, footballer, gets 10 million, gets a house in Abuja for winning something in Africa. Your second daughter Ezine Kanu wins African basketball, gets 10 million, gets land in Abuja for winning that. Your third daughter wins award, global award, for, I think it's English language or literature or something.
Yes,
the whole world celebrated this lady. Yes. Your president only wrote her a letter saying that she has done well. As a parent, which of those 3 children has brought returns? So now think about the fourth daughter now, right? Ashishat, Ezine Kanu, this lady. Think about the fourth daughter. Of these 3, which of them do you think he wants to take after? And then we're now surprised students are saying that we are promoting people that say education is a scam. We promote them, we give them platform. A TV station will likely invite that young guy who speaks bad English deliberately, that always says education is a scam. A TV station will give him a bigger platform than a professor. I don't need to mention his name because you know.
I know him.
Somebody in Nigeria decided to say he wanted to prove that education is a scam, did interview for graduate, and was saying that I know the graduate, I want to employ you. The Minister for Education saw that video, kept quiet. The Commissioner for Education saw the video, kept quiet. the message that guy has sent to you is that don't waste your time going to school. And we have a commissioner for education. So the point I'm trying to make is that there is no incentive for the Nigerian politician to take education
You know,
seriously.
this thing you're saying is actually very deep because, but 2017, I looked at the intellectual events and compared them to the entertainment events. I was the one that created the board game tournament where they could go play chess, Scrabble, and IO. And I know how much impact that made in rejigging the minds of young people to think, because those are the kind of games that challenges your mind to think critically, that helps you to do things, differently. But guess what? Even when you go to corporates to say, fund this event, right? They're asking you for ROI. And the question I kept on pushing back to them, when you give Davido 30 billion, you give Whiskey 30 billion, what is the ROI in that? And we are even asking for a fraction of that to be able to help to. So I always say this, and I love what you said, and I want to use the opportunity to say it again. I have not said do not focus on football, sports, entertainment. Give the same measure of attention to education. Because if you don't, right, what you are doing is that you are telling people that education is not the way. It's not where to go to. And more and more people will become not interested in education. And like you rightly said, we have said it several times, but it is good to say it again, that poor education has become a weapon right now in the hands of politicians, because like you said, once you are well educated, it is going to be difficult for anybody to sway your votes or whatever it is. So I mean, it's a sad reality, because I was trying to find the girl's name and I'm really shocked that there was nothing. It is you that is even bringing it to my attention now, because sadly a lot of us actually just breezed through it. She had a global award where she beat all the other countries, in that English language, and yet nothing was given to her as an incentive. It's a very sad wake-up call for us. It's a sad wake-up call for us, and it means that continuously education will continue to suffer the more we continue to have this kind of mindset. You know what? We're going to keep having this conversation. It's not going to be the end, because for us, one of the biggest core for this channel is to keep promoting conversations that matter. Education is one of the biggest conversations that matter for us as a people, and it must continue to see, the attention that it deserves. So if you have like a final thought on this conversation, right? How do we just, wrap up the thought and leave something in the minds of both the people watching and the government?
Okay, thanks, and thanks again for this opportunity. I think there is a great silver lining. Nigerians prioritize education. Nigerians want their children to be educated. Nigerians believe in education. So that's a good thing. The only thing I think we need to add to it is for Nigerians to believe in public education. You see, as a parent, you send your child to the best school. I mean, as a parent, you sacrifice to get your children, you pay their school fees because you believe in the value of education. But the problem is that public education is education for the masses. The best way to elevate education is to elevate public education. And that's the model that Paul Kagame had done in Rwanda. What Paul Kagame just did was, I'm not going to focus myself on those private schools. I am going to raise the level of public education. And then raise the level of public education that parents took their children from those private schools to the public school, and the public school started closing down. What I think we need to start to leverage on is that public education. So think about it. Upgrade TV, you are somewhere. There's a public school close to you. What can the staff start to do to reform that public school?
Absolutely.
What can the MTNs and the Globalcoms and the Shells and the Chevrons?
So we need to put our attention
on public education. We are already good with education.
So we need to now put the attention in public education.
On public education.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let me quickly take some comments.
We'll be wasting our time.
Once upon a time, our university lecturers earned more than Shell workers. You pay workers with peanuts and you end up with monkeys. That's some Sally. Then it then goes on to say, and all politicians are training their children abroad to doctorate degrees. Very sad. Nafisa Abdullah Aminu says, the 17-year-old Nigerian girl who won the 2025 Global English Award. Thank you so much. Nafisa Abdullah Aminu. She represented Nigeria through Nigerian Tulip International College at the Teen Eagle Global Finals in London. Nafisa performed over 20,000 participants, outperformed over 20,000 participants from 69 countries, demonstrating exceptional English skills, critical thinking, and communication ability. That's her name. Thank you so much for that comment. And congratulations to Nafisa. Honestly speaking, I think even I dropped the ball on this, because normally I would have picked it, but I did not even pick it because, you know, nobody was expecting anything, because it didn't seem like it was an achievement, and it's just a sad reality. Very sad reality. But thank you so much, Emi, for joining us this evening. Hopefully we'll definitely keep bringing the conversation and putting it at the front burner. Thank you again for watching the show. If you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's Official Upgrade TV. And remember to please share the links, right? It's important that you share these conversations. We need to drive it as much as possible to the people that need to hear the conversation. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.